The rain had been falling since dawn, turning the city into a washed-out blur of headlights and watery reflections. But inside the small street cafe, the soft amber lights made everything feel warmer than the world outside. At a corner table beside the fogged-up window, a man sat alone, staring at the untouched plate of fries in front of him. His dark coat dripped faintly from the storm, and his eyes, sharp, cold, and tired, looked like they carried years of weight no one could guess. This man, known to the world as Adrian Hale, billionaire CEO of Hale Dynamics, one of the wealthiest and most influential figures in the country, had slipped out of his own life just to breathe for a moment. He didn't expect anyone to notice him. He didn't want anyone to. He was hiding from the world and maybe from himself. But all of that changed the moment a trembling voice broke through the hum of rain and cafe chatter, asking a question no one had ever dared ask him before. "Can we share your fries, sir? If you believe in kindness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these emotional stories reach more hearts." When Adrian lifted his gaze, he found before him a woman clutching a worn canvas bag against her chest, her clothes damp from the rain. Behind her stood a little girl chattering softly to herself, maybe 5 or 6, her tiny boots soaked, her cheeks flushed pink from the cold. The woman's eyes held an apology before the words even left her lips, as if she felt she was intruding just by breathing the same air. Her hair was messy, pulled back in a loose tie, and she looked like someone who fought invisible battles just to wake up each morning. Adrian wasn't used to people approaching him without recognition, without expectation, without fear. Yet here she was, just a mother looking at a plate of food she couldn't afford for her child, trying to ask with dignity instead of desperation. Something inside him softened. Instantly. She tried to explain, her words stumbling over each other as she admitted her payday was still 3 days away, and her daughter hadn't eaten since breakfast, and she didn't want to ask the cafe staff again because they had already turned her away gently once, saying they couldn't give free food. She didn't want charity, she only wanted to share. The request was so simple, innocence stitched into every syllable, and for a moment, Adrian didn't feel like a billionaire or a CEO. He felt like a man who had forgotten what compassion looked like. He nodded and pushed the plate toward her. The woman exhaled shakily as if she'd been holding her breath for hours. She helped her daughter onto the chair beside him, murmuring hopeful encouragement. The little girl smiled at Adrian with the kind of smile that made the rain outside feel less heavy. As she reached for a fry, she whispered that fries were her favorite food in the whole world, but they only got them on special days. Adrian felt something pull tight in his chest. When had his own life stopped having special days? When had he last eaten with joy instead of habit? The mother introduced herself as Mia, though she fumbled even with that, as though saying her own name felt unnecessary. She explained quietly that she worked 2 part-time jobs, neither of which paid enough to keep up with rising rent. Her daughter, Lily, had been sick last winter, and the medical bills still haunted them. Every word was humble, honest, stripped of pride but rich with love. She didn't hide her struggle, not because she wanted pity, but because she didn't have the strength to pretend anymore. Adrian listened more intently than he had listened to anyone in years. He found himself asking gentle questions, wanting to know how long she had lived in the city, how she managed her days, how she stayed afloat in a world constantly trying to pull her under. Mia talked about walking Lily to school each morning, then rushing to clean offices, then later waitressing at a small restaurant that had recently cut her hours. She mentioned skipping her own meals so Lily could have enough. She said it all softly, not seeking admiration, just stating facts of her life that had become routine. When she tried to laugh it off, he could hear the exhaustion behind her forced cheerfulness. Adrian found himself gripping his cup slightly too tight, wondering how someone could fight so hard every single day and still smile so gently at a stranger. He thought about his own life, about the boardrooms, the private jets, the expensive suits, the hollow victories. He had built his empire from dust and ambition, sacrificed friendships, sleep, even his marriage in the process. Money had never been a problem for him, but connection had. The more successful he became, the lonelier he grew. So he had run from his own lavish world this morning after another argument with his executive team, who accused him of being too detached, too unreachable, too cold. Maybe they were right. Maybe he had lost something essential along the way. As Lily munched happily, wiping ketchup on her sleeve, Mia apologized repeatedly for bothering him. She explained that she usually never asked strangers for anything, but today had been especially hard. The electricity in their apartment had gone out again. Her manager had been in a foul mood and sent her home early without pay. She didn't have enough money for groceries, and Lily had been crying from hunger. She saw the fries only as a tiny moment of relief. Adrian stared at the greasy plate between them, realizing he had ordered it without thinking, planning to leave after a few minutes. He had no idea it would feed someone who truly needed it, feeling something stir within him, something warm, something human. He asked the server to bring more food, enough for 3 people. Mia immediately tried to decline, shaking her head, tightening her arms around her bag as if bracing for judgment, but he reassured her with calm eyes and a steady voice, telling her it would make him happy. Eventually, she let herself accept the meal. As the plates arrived, he noticed how she blinked rapidly. Fighting tears she refused to let fall in front of her daughter. They ate together like a small, mismatched family. Lily told stories about her school, about drawing pictures of rainbows, about wanting to be a doctor so she could fix all the tired moms. Mia laughed softly, brushing her daughter's hair aside. Adrian watched them, feeling an ache he hadn't felt in years, something like longing. He missed simplicity. He missed warmth. He missed the feeling of being needed in a way that wasn't tied to money or status. When the rain outside slowed and the cafe began to empty, Mia gathered her things and thanked him with a sincerity that wrapped around his heart. She told him she hoped that life would repay his kindness 100 times. She said she didn't know who he was, but she could tell he was someone with a good soul. Adrian almost laughed at that. If only she knew how many people called him ruthless, distant, heartless. She had seen something in him others had forgotten existed. He watched her leave, holding Lily's hand as they stepped into the puddled street. Something inside him refused to let the moment end there. Without fully understanding why, he rose, paid the bill, and followed them out into the misty afternoon. He stayed at a distance, feeling strangely protective. When he saw Mia push the cafe door open with her shoulder because she didn't have a free hand, he realized how easily the world overlooked people like her. She crossed the street and entered a small apartment building. Adrian walked past it, memorizing the address without meaning to. He didn't want to invade her privacy, but he couldn't shake the heaviness in his chest, the feeling that he had been meant to meet her today. He had spent years building towers of glass and steel, yet somehow it was this rain-drenched woman and her daughter who reminded him of what truly mattered. That night, back in his penthouse with its city skyline view, he couldn't sleep. The silence felt louder than ever. He kept seeing Lily's bright smile, hearing Mia's trembling gratitude, remembering the way she held her dignity close like a fragile shield. He thought about how a simple plate of fries had changed the rhythm of his day, and perhaps something deeper inside him. After hours of restless pacing, he made a decision he hadn't made in years. He picked up the phone, called his assistant, and scheduled a visit to the community outreach division of his company for the next morning. Over the next week, Adrian found himself returning to the cafe at the same hour, silently hoping fate might bring Mia back. And one rainy afternoon, it did. She walked in with the same worn bag, the same tired smile, but this time when she saw him, her face lit up with genuine warmth. She thanked him again for the meal that had gotten her through a tough week. She explained that she had since been searching for extra work, but no one was hiring. Adrian felt the familiar pull of wanting to help, but he also knew he had to be careful. He didn't want to overwhelm her. He wanted to earn her trust, not buy it. They shared coffee. Lily drew pictures on napkins. Mia talked about dreams she buried long ago, dreams of becoming a teacher, dreams of giving her daughter a safe, steady life. Adrian listened to every word, deeply, intensely. The more he learned about her, the more he admired her courage. He found himself smiling in a way he hadn't smiled in years. That evening, when they parted ways, he made another decision. The next morning, at his company's headquarters, he instructed his human resources team to open a new administrative position, one tailored exactly for someone like Mia. Steady hours, good pay, full benefits, no prior degree required, just dedication and hard work. He didn't mention her name. Not yet. He wanted the opportunity to feel fair, not like a favor. A few days later, Mia walked into the lobby of Hale Dynamics, responding to a job listing she never expected to qualify for. She didn't know Adrian owned the building. She didn't know he was the man behind the interview she suddenly found herself in. When she walked into the small conference room and saw him there, she froze, her breath catching in her chest, her eyes widening in disbelief. Adrian stood up, offering her a seat. He explained gently that he believed in her. He believed in her strength, her dedication, her heart. He told her she deserved a chance, not charity. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks as she whispered that no one had ever believed in her like this. Adrian felt something inside him shift permanently. If this story touches your heart, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life. Months passed, and Mia flourished in her new job. Lily thrived in school, healthier and happier than ever. Adrian found himself visiting them often, slowly becoming part of their world. He helped fix things in their apartment. He joined them for simple dinners. He listened to Mia's laughter, soft, shy, genuine. He learned what it meant to care without conditions. The billionaire who once felt empty now felt full in ways he never imagined. One evening, as they walked home under a sky sprinkled with fading stars, Mia stopped, looking at him with eyes filled with gratitude and warmth. She said she didn't know why life had led her to that cafe on that rainy day, but she believed now that kindness had a way of finding people right when they needed it most, and Adrian realized he wasn't rescuing her, she had rescued him, from loneliness, from numbness, from himself. Before the story ends, please comment below. Kindness changes lives. Let's spread positivity together. In the end, the plate of fries that once symbolized hunger became the moment that fed 3 souls. The billionaire found his heart again. The single mom found hope, and the little girl found a future brighter than any rainy night. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness rewrite entire destinies, and for Adrian, Mia, and Lily, everything began with a simple, trembling question: "Can we share your fries, sir?"